My question is about games for my daughter. She's 5 years old now, but I've been gaming with her for as long as she could hold a controller. She's already beaten a ton of games on her own. She's been around gaming her whole life, and her favorite games are Nintendo. I'm looking for new games for her. The problem I'm running into is that next set of games I know she would love all need reading comprehension that she doesn't have yet. Can you recommend any more games for my 5-year-old? Keep in mind she's super proficient at gameplay mechanics, but doesn't have a ton of reading skills yet. We've talked about Pokemon Pinball recently, and I haven't played it yet, but like on the Wii U VC, you've got Pokemon Snap. That's supposed to be pretty good.
Pokemon Rumble? Like that,
Yeah.
That game requires essentially no reading.
Yeah.
It may require no thinking, but that's a different issue.
I'm not a father. I suppose none of us here are. So I don't feel very well. It's a curious thing to be asking
I'm a
us
pastor,
about
but
this.
that was in a past life.
Great.
But I can go back to the games that I played as a 5-year-old that didn't require much reading. So Punch Out, Castlevania, Cobra Triangle. I think all of these would be excellent choices. It's on Rare Replay. It's accessible now.
That's what I was going to say. I was just saying that to Guillaume.
You're not wrong.
There's probably some on Rare Replay. I was wondering, maybe Blast Core? Maybe? I mean, its mechanic is pretty simple. You just smash
Do you
stuff.
think the idea of nuclear Armageddon is too much for a 5-year-old, John?
Hey,
I mean,
No pressure, kid, but if you don't destroy everything with this dump truck correctly, we're all dead. You know the bit in T2 that I haven't shown you yet where the kids are all on fire? It's going to be like that.
She has to be introduced to it eventually. You know, this is what's
has
called
to
the
know her
nuclear
future.
holocaust.
No, she
Please
doesn't.
avoid
It's
it.
not the Cold War anymore, Joe. We don't teach fucking get under the
Have
desk and
have
hope for
you
the
met
best.
Vladimir Putin?
This is your bunker. If you see a flash of light in the sky, get under the table. Just these are simple things.
You'll be fine.
To a certain extent, I get what he's saying though, because there's a lot of these games where I think, oh yeah, that's a not necessarily a simple game, but a game where the fun is worn very much on its sleeve, but there is a lot of text to go with it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. In seriousness, older games might be an idea because they had to work around the limitations. They wouldn't have that much text in
right. They didn't care essentially.
Yeah, they were arcade style games, and they wouldn't have to be the ridiculously hard games that a lot of us played. Yeah, there could be ones that were easier back then. Like
Ninja Gaiden 3.
Yeah, not that. Like a Kirby's Adventure or something like that.
What about the Canvas Curse for Wii U?
Yeah, that's. I mean,
it's pretty good.
It's not out in America yet. I'm assuming. That's the market that we're dealing with here. But I mean, Yoshi's Woolly World.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see how that wouldn't be a joy for anyone, any person at all. But certainly,
Not me, man.
That's a small child.
Baby games.
You're not a man, John. You're just black hatred in this vague human shape.
Oh,
Black hatred in vague human shape. I love it.
I mean, the problem is that, and we say this because we've gone through the whole review process of these games. That's that there's a very poor understanding of how to make games that are both accessible and enjoyable. And if you were to try to buy games that are marketed at your daughter, there is not all of them, but there is going to be a large number of them that just seem to have adopted the policy of I mean, whatever, they're kids, they don't care.
Yep.
Well, now though, actually, those games don't really exist except in the touch environment. Like they haven't made those games on the handhelds anymore.
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, if you think about the kind of stuff that flooded the shelves for GBA,
or even DS,
and DS to a large, and then look at that with 3DS now. Yeah, that exodus is very apparent.
Yeah, so and like a lot of those games are in the touch space where they can make them for even less money, and they can be somehow even worse.
Yeah, they can be monetized.
That's right, and they can make more money out of a worse game.
Yep.
I mean, we talked about earlier, if you could find it, things like Super Princess Peach, which is I think it's kind of a funny game. There's people who have issues with it, but it's enjoyable for being what a game it is. We talked about a lot of Kirby games. Kirby 64 is I really enjoy that game. I think it's got some neat mechanical stuff.
Having just played it, I would go along with that. I think there is a real sort of element of just play involved with those combining those powers that would presumably appeal to children.
Did he mention Smash Brothers?
Too violent,
no.
surely. It's just it's T-rated for a reason, James.
I have yet to figure that reason out, to be honest. But, like, I think kids, because it's very reminiscent of the cartoon violence that kids see in TV shows. I think.
Doesn't mean they should see it though, does it? Doesn't mean they should.
How about some puzzle games, maybe? Like, get her to try Tetris or Panel Upon, like the Pokemon version is on the Wii Virtual Console, maybe one day on Wii U. So that's colorful. That would be an introduction to Pokemon, and it's a fun game. It's one of my favorite puzzle games.
And you look at it, it kind of fits what you look for in terms of it's intuitive. It doesn't need a lot of instruction on stuff. I mean, it's surprising to me sometimes when stuff that's aimed at kids, obviously older kids than 5 years old, but how sort of reading heavy it is. So in terms of not so much that they would have difficulty comprehending it, but just that they think that they would find it fun. I mean, many years ago, I reviewed the second. I think it was this. Yeah, what's the second? The second Pokemon Ranger game. It's enormously talky.
Oh yeah, it doesn't...
reams and reams of dialogue at the start about, you're at the Ranger Academy and you got to talk to all these people and you're sort of earning your stripes in the Ranger system or whatever. And I just, kids got the attention span for this, quote unquote kid friendly games are not always as kid friendly as they think they are. I think intuitive games is the biggest thing that you want for a child of this age, and so something like a Tetris, I think, is they will.
Right.
I mean, it might take them a while, but if they just play it, I have confidence that they will begin to understand it, and that'll be part of the fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something like Parodius, which is
something like Shoney.
Wow.
It was that was the internet before the internet, because it was all about cats and scantily clad girls.
No, sorry. Well, I mean, to an extent, yes, but like, it's not the hardest shooter in the world. There's another one though that's not as much scantily clad girls. I'm just blanking on what it's called.
Yeah, that was kind of creeped in there more and more as it went on. I don't think there's that much of the scantily clad girls in the MSX one that started it all.
Okay.
But after that, it's pretty quickly.
It slides downhill.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly absurd, but I would not recommend it for a 5-year-old.
I mean, whatever. It's
it's a Vegas showgirl doing the Exorcist spider walk as a goof on a Gradius battle. A 5-year-old is not going to get that on any of those levels, nor should they.
You know what your child is ready for.
Muscle March.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, State of Punishment Star Successor. The story can't make any less sense to them.
I know exactly.
I mean, there is stuff from TG16 era that is weirdly child approachable, especially visually. A lot of the stuff on that system was very colorful and cartoony looking, like stuff like Bonk.
Yeah, Bonk's Adventure.
Like,
yep.
That's a very approachable
game.
Yeah,
the new Adventure Island is it's a cartoon. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I played Bonk at about 5 years old, so I can vouch for a 5-year-old playing that game. I played this shit out of that game, and I played the Game Boy version. That was terrible.
I still play too.
I still play it into the ground.
Master Higgins, good guy.
I mean, there's some. I think the Virtual Console is kind of a weirdly fertile ground for some of this stuff, because there was a lot of
because it's a nice portal back in time to a place where games like made it their business to not have to be explained to be fun.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. I think it's still something that Nintendo it can be very good at. But not exclusively anymore. Sometimes the games are very wordy.
Yes.
Right, and back then also games were more aimed at kids than today. Yeah.
Well, and the forms had,
but also ridiculously hard. Times, which I mean, look, he speaks about the proficiency of his daughter. That maybe if you threw her in at the deep end, she'd swim just fine. That's what happened to me. The first game I ever played was Punch Out. That just put me on the path of playing ridiculously hard games for the rest of my life.
So scantily clad women, whatever. But punching ethnic stereotypes in the face. Okay, fine.
That was fine. Look, to be fair, you're forgetting one thing though. His daughter lives now. This was back in the 80s. That was perfectly fine back then.
Come here, Guido. I'm going to knock your
The
teeth
Berlin
out.
Wall hadn't even come down yet. I mean, the rest of the world was just terrifying.
Wow, it's
You
overtly political, this episode.
Jeez, you sit in an additional parliament with some of these stereotypes that you just beat the crap out of. I want you to remember that. These were people on the other side of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, well, it's all different now, James.
It's all different
We live
now.
in a different world.
Once the Channel Tunnel was completed, it became
Exactly.
inappropriate
The
to
Channel
beat the
Tunnel wasn't
shit.
even completed back then, so, we couldn't...
Once that happened, you can't beat the crap out of French people.
We were then confronted with the fact that Glass Joe was not, in fact, representative of every Frenchman who's ever lived.